Hi everyone, I hope that this video finds you doing well. I want to kind of go on into the word today, and we're going to talk about being ready. Last video I talked to you about what is your vision and how to maybe walk in that vision. And we talked about the vision being a communication between God and people. So now we're going to talk about being ready, because after we have a vision, we have to know how to be ready. So being ready. Ready means having a right relationship to God and knowing where we are. Being ready means we are prepared to do the smallest thing or the largest thing that He asks. Being ready means whatever God's will, we are there and we are ready to perform it. We have to be ready to be obedient to Him and do His will, not ours. Let's look at Exodus chapter 3, verse 4. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here am I. Moses was ready to answer the call because he said, Here am I. In John chapter 17, verse 21, they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. Jesus wants to make us one with Him. To be one with Christ, we must be obedient and follow His will, not our own will. Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, Here I am, send me. Isaiah was ready. He was saying, Here I am, Lord, send me. I'll be a vessel. I'll be the person that you can send. Send me. Isaiah was excited to answer that call. Are you ready? Are you excited to answer that call for the Lord and say, Here I am, use me, do what you want to through me? Are you ready? Jesus was sent to do the will of the Father. He accepted the challenge and lived his life saying, Here I am, send me. Here I am, Lord, to do thy will, to do the will of the Father. Can we say that? Can we say that here we are, we're ready to do the will of the Father? Acts chapter 9, verse 10, and there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him the Lord said in a vision, Ananias, and he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. Now, if we look at Ananias, the Lord was about to send Ananias to talk to Paul. Now, if we know our Bible history, we know that Paul was a persecutor of the Christians. He stoned Christians. He chased after Christians. Actually, that's what he was going to Damascus to do before the Lord stopped him in his tracks. And now, Ananias, God was fixing to send Ananias to talk to him and explain the will of the Father to him. Now, Ananias had every right to be scared because Paul, as far as he knew, had come to persecute Christians. But the Lord told him in that vision to go and talk to him. And Ananias said, I am ready. Here I am. 1 Samuel chapter 3, verse 7. Now, I'm not going to read that whole verse. I'm going to paraphrase. Samuel did not yet fully know the voice of the Lord. So what had happened is the Lord had called to Samuel, and Samuel had went running into Eli saying, Here I am. And Eli said, I didn't call you, go back to bed. So then Samuel heard a voice again, and he ran back to Eli. And Eli said, I didn't call you, go back to bed. And then the third time it happened, Eli had to explain to Samuel that it was the voice of the Lord. So after Eli explained to Samuel that it was God calling his name, Samuel answered, Here I am, speak, Lord. So he was ready. He was learning the voice of God. And that's something we have to do. We have to make sure that we know the voice of God, and we have to learn the voice of God. Because at first he thought it was Eli calling him. And Eli sat him down and explained to him that God is calling you. Answer him. And Samuel was willing. Samuel was obedient to what Eli told him to do. Samuel answered, "Here I am, speak, Lord." First on each occasion, and no matter what the Lord called, first on each occasion, no matter who the Lord called, it was the same answer. I am here, or here am I. Not one person said, wait, I'm not ready. In every example, these men answered the call and went on to follow God. Let's look at Matthew chapter 8, verses 19 through 22. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee wheresoever thou goest. How many times have we said that? Lord, we'll follow you wherever you take us. And Jesus said unto him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not anywhere to lay his head. Matthew 8:21. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me to go to bury my Father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. So I want to talk to you about how many times have we said, I'll follow you, Lord, and something come up and we stop. It's easy to get sidetracked in our life. It's easy because we have responsibilities and we have cares of this life that we have to take care of. But think of all that these men would have missed had they not answered that call. Think of all that the disciples would have missed had they not answered the call to follow Jesus and be his disciple. Think of what we would have missed had Jesus decided not to answer the call. Think about it. You know, we look at the Bible and we read about men and women in the Bible and how they served God and what they did. And I think a lot of times we have to be careful because we start to view them as just stories. I'm going to read the story of Noah. I'm going to read the story of Moses. I'm going to read about Jesus' life. I'm going to read the story of Paul. I'm going to read the story of Ruth. I'm going to read the story of Joshua. You know, we think about those as just being stories, but they're not just stories. They were real men and women of God who had answered the call and decided to follow on to know their Lord. They answered the call to follow on in the vision that God had given them. They answered the call. It's time that we answer that call. You may think, I can't do that. I'm just a mere human being, or I'm just me, or I'm whatever. It does not matter. We have to realize Jesus was a man, and he had the same things that we have in him, but yet he did not sin. He was perfect. Job was a man. David was a man after God's own heart. Job was perfect and upright before God. Elisha, Elijah, they were men, but they were men that submitted themselves to God and followed to know him. They went on to serve him and be obedient to his will for their lives. Abraham was a man. Paul was a man. Peter was a man. Stephen was a man. Ruth was a woman. Mary was a woman. But yet they all answered the call and they all said yes. Can we do that? We have to be willing to stay on track and make following Jesus a priority. A lot of times when we have to push something aside because there's not enough time in a day, sadly the thing we push aside is our relationship with Jesus. We cannot do that. We can't say, I'll pray later, I'll read the word later, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. Yes, I know that there are times in our lives that they don't go as planned. But even when your life doesn't go as planned, the worst thing you can do is stop having a relationship with Jesus. Is to push that aside and say, I don't have time, I got to go here, I got to do this, I got to go bury my dad. I'm not making light of the situation. What I'm telling you is Jesus has to be a priority. Following on to know the Lord has to be a priority. Being obedient to God has to be a priority. It is time that we stop pushing the, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And before you know it, a week's gone by. And then before you know it, 2 weeks. And then before you know it, a month. And then a year. Look at what that does to your spiritual growth. We have to continue to grow and press our way in if we want to go somewhere in God, if we want to be the vessel that God has for us to do. We have to go on to know Him. We have to go on to follow Him. We have to go on to be obedient to Him. And the only way that we can do that is to keep that relationship. I'm telling you, your relationship with Jesus is the worst thing that you can set aside. Yeah, it's easy. When you're tired from going to work all day and you've worked 8, 12, 14 hours in that day, it's easy to come home and sit down and turn on the TV and sit there till you go to bed. But what does that profit you? Take a little bit of time to read the Bible. Take a little bit of time to pray. Set your face to seek God. He don't want us to miss out on what He has for us. The men and women in the Bible could have very easily said no, and they could have missed what God had called them to do, and they could have missed that thing that they did. No matter what it was, no matter what character, or I don't want to say character, no matter what man or woman in the Bible that you pick, they either did one of two things. They followed on to know God and they tried to live their life in that obedience, or they didn't and they messed themselves up. It's your choice. And I have totally got off my notes, but that's okay. We're going to go look at Matthew 25, verses 1 through 13. I'm not going to read all of those verses, but this is a perfect example of how we can miss the God by not being ready. Out of 10 people, only 5 were ready. Are you ready at all times? Can you say, "Here am I"? Or will you be like the 5 that wasn't ready? It said, "Wait, we have to go and get some oil." They missed out. They missed it. They missed the call. They missed it. If we're not careful to keep ourselves ready, we will miss it too. John the Baptist said, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord." It is time that we prepare our hearts and our minds to be ready to answer the call. No matter where the call comes from or when it comes, we must say yes, or we will miss the call of God on our lives. We will mess up. We can lose our relationship with God. But more importantly, we can miss, I don't know more important, I said more importantly. The most important thing is your relationship with God. And if you lose that, then what do you have? What is your life without Jesus Christ? Now, I'm not telling you that you won't go to heaven. I'm not telling you that you're not saved. I'm telling you that relationship with God is what's going to keep you. That relationship, studying that word, that's what's going to make Him reveal Himself to you. That's what's going to make Him alive in you. You know, it really is dependent on what you feed. You can feed the flesh and the flesh is going to grow, but your spirit man is going to die. Or you can choose the spirit man and you can choose to feed that and let him grow and grow and grow and prosper so that you can become like Jesus and you can fulfill the vision and the plan that God has called you to do. We must decrease so that Christ can increase in us. We must be ready to answer the call and be obedient to what He wants. I hope that this word is encouraging you because I understand how easy that life can sometimes pull us and get our focus off of God. We have to train our minds to focus on Him. We have to train ourselves that we have to focus. Now, I know that we have natural things that we have to do. We have jobs. We have, families that we have to provide for, families that we have to care for. And, I know as a mom, you go to work and you work how many ever hours in that day, you come home and a lot of times you have to take care of the kids, you have to fix dinner, you have to make sure, but still, even in all of that, there is time. There is time to spend with Jesus, and that's what I want to encourage you today. Be ready. How do you be ready? You prepare yourself. You prepare your heart. How do you prepare your heart? Through prayer and study of the Word. We have to have eyes to see and ears to hear. And then we have to have a heart to receive that. And we have to have a teachable spirit. We have to be able to be taught. I hope this word's been a blessing to you. I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great day.